I've been debating with myself for a while about how exactly I want to cover the subject. I put together a list of what I think are the most fundamental things that one might want to do with the Steamworks extension. Hello all the crazy people out there, my name is Michael, I like wizards and dragons and making games, and let's talk about Steamworks. So if you're making a game in GameMaker, which if you clicked on this video I'm going to assume that you are, and you want to put your game on Steam, which is definitely not an uncommon thing to want to do. You might well want to implement what is known as Steamworks in your game. Steamworks, for those who are unaware, is the interface which you can use to allow your game to talk to the Steam API, which gives you access to fancy things like Steam Friends Lists and Steam Achievements and Steam Cloud Saves and so on down the line. In the past, this has been implemented in GameMaker in a few different ways, but as GameMaker has reorganized itself in the last year or so, we now have Steamworks implemented as an official extension, which you can find on the Yo-Yo Games GitHub organization. If you go to the org page, you can search the repository for Steamworks, and you can click on the Steamworks extension repository. I will also have it linked down in the description of the video. If you would rather read a wiki than listen to me talking, then you'll be pleased to know that it's fairly well documented. And I found that the setup guide and the description of each of the functions in the extension is pretty easy to follow. But if you do like watching videos, then we can run through how to get it set up right here. So you'll need a few things to do this. Firstly, you're going to want to download the GameMaker Steamworks extension itself, and to do that, you can go to the Releases tab and click on whichever the latest version is. Currently, it is August of 2024. The most recent version is 1.6.11. You can click on that, read some of the change notes. That's very nice. You can actually download the extension, which will be the YYMPS file in the assets section. You can click on that and download it. Next, you're going to actually need, if you haven't set this up before, you're going to actually need the Steamworks SDK, which you can obtain from Steam itself. The current version that GameMaker is set to work with, again, August 2024, is going to be the Steam SDK 1.55, which is actually a few versions behind what the current version of the Steamworks SDK is. But there haven't been any major changes in the Steam SDK itself recently, so that's mostly fine. Anyway, you can go to your Steamworks dashboard, which is partner.steamgames.com/dashboard. Again, I'll have a link to that down in the description of the video. If you don't yet have a Steamworks developer account, you can log in with your regular Steam ID and you can set up a Steamworks developer account for free. That's a thing that you're going to want to have if you want to post your games on Steam. After that, if you have any software on your Steamworks developer account, you'll see some information about it here. I'm not going to go into the Steamworks dashboard today. If you don't, this will be mostly empty. You can create a new application by setting up down here, paying the Steam Direct fee. Again, I'm not going to do that today. You don't need to do this. You don't need to pay anything if you just want to get started with the Steamworks SDK. Hey. To download the SDK itself, you can click on this big blue Download Latest SDK button, but as I said, currently GameMaker wants Steamworks SDK version 1.55, so to get that, we're going to want to click on the release notes. We're going to want to look for 1.55 here, released July of 2022. We can download that, and we should be good to go. Let's see, I believe that's everything that we need on the internet right now. So, getting started with this, let me go Show in Folder, and let me actually open a GameMaker project. So right off the bat, we can go and click and drag the Steamworks extension, so that's going to be the YYMPS that we downloaded from GameMaker's GitHub. We can drag the extension into the GameMaker IDE. We can import the asset package. That's going to make the project tool do a little bit of thinking. This is taking longer than I'm used to. All right, so there's actually a couple of things that you can import. There's the Steamworks demo if you want to import the Steamworks demo project and see how Yo-Yo Games has set up their little demo for Steamworks. Steamworks itself, that contains the actual extension. This is the one that you actually really need. The GM extension assets, this is, again, if you're working with the Steamworks demo, this is like sprites and stuff that'll go with that. And the included files, which I believe is just the documentation in HTML format. You can import any or all of those if you'd like. Again, I'm just going to go with the actual Steamworks extension itself. We can import that. Project tool can go away. If you open up the extension which you just imported, we can see that this is we can see that we've got a few things here. If you've ever worked with GameMaker extensions before, you can click around this. There's a couple of extension options which you'll want to pay attention to. First and foremost, the Steam SDK under build options down here. So this is where we'll want to go, and I really need to like close some of these Windows Explorer windows. But anyway, the Steam SDK that we downloaded, Steamworks SDK 155.zip. So we're going to need to extract the Steamworks SDK and put it in a location where GameMaker can find. Firstly, let me go and where are we going to go? Extract the zip file. I'm just going to extract this into my downloads folder for now. And that's going to take a minute to extract the files. Secondly, I like to put my Steamworks stuff on just the C drive of my computer. So I'm going to go to, like, you know, in Windows 10, this PC. I'm going to go and create a new folder in the root directory, and I'm just going to call this Steamworks. If you don't have, like, administrator permissions on your computer, maybe you're using, like, a shared family computer or something, maybe don't put it here. Maybe put it in, like, your user folder or something. It should be okay, as long as you tell GameMaker where to find it. If I go and open up the folder I just created, and if I go into the extracted files and copy the SDK folder, I'm going to copy the Windows Explorer. Are you feeling okay? I'm going to copy the SDK into the Steamworks folder, and then if I click on that, we can see all the stuff that comes with it. We have the README, very exciting. We have the actual dev tools for building Steam games and whatnot. All right, enough of that. I'm going to take the location where the Steam SDK is located. So this is basically the file on my computer where the all the stuff glmgr public redistributable this folder. This is this folder on my computer. I'm going to take this. I'm going to copy it into the Steam SDK extension option text field over here. And now we should be able to tell GameMaker where to find the Steamworks SDK on my computer when it tries to build with the extension. All right. Next thing you're going to want, if you do have an application that you'd like to work with Steamworks with on your Steam developer account, it doesn't matter if it's been like released or not, or if it's got a store page yet or not, or anything like that. It just has to exist. It just has to have an app ID that you can copy and paste into this field here. If you don't have any games currently on your Steam developer account, or if you do have a game but you just like to test with a generic one, app ID 480 is fine. That happens to correspond with a title called Space War, which is kind of sort of Valve's like testing application for use with the Steam like Steamworks functions in various games. So that should be the default that the extension comes with, and if you just want to run it with that, that's fine. Now, this is my my like generic 2D test project. If I were to run this game, you're not going to see anything immediately, but when you do run it, you are going to notice that you have the little Steam overlay popping up in the corner of the screen here. So that's a lot of fun. If you shift tab, you're going to get the Steam overlay popping up in front of you, which might look familiar to you. So that's cool. The achievements and other social features related to it will, if you're using app ID 480, they will be like the Steam achievements and social and whatnot of Space War, Valve's testing app. If you are using your own game, it will show information pertaining to your own game in the Steam overlay. So that's kind of fun. All right. Nothing else is really happening right off the bat, but we can make use of quite a few Steam functions right now. Firstly, there is a handy function known as Steam initialized, which you can use to check if Steamworks has correctly been initialized in your game. Let's see. I'm going to get rid of those hearts at the top of the screen because they're not important, and I'm just going to draw some information at the top of the screen. So let's draw set color C_black. We can, for example, draw some text at the top of the screen. I'm going to draw it at 3232, and we can say Steam is initialized. Let's do a little conditional. If Steam is initialized, we're going to draw the text yes. Otherwise, nope. Now if I were to run the game with Steam is initialized, we can see at the top of the screen we have Steam is initialized yes, and indeed we've got the Steamworks overlay on the game right now. That's pretty fun. So that's checking if Steam is initialized. There's a couple of other fun functions you can use in the Steamworks extension, and by a couple of fun functions, I mean if you hit Steam and then Control Space to view the code help dropdown, there's quite a lot of functions in the Steamworks extension which you can use for things like achievements or cloud saves or matchmaking or DLC or all kinds of other fun things. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the step event of OBJ Player, and in your game, most likely you're going to want to put this in the step event or the begin step event or the end step event of whatever like your main game controller object is. This demo project doesn't really have one of those, so I'm just going to put it in the player because the player always exists. We can say Steam update, and this is going to have the extension's status update continuously every frame. This won't happen automatically unless you call Steam update. I believe in modern GameMaker, because we have a wonderful thing called time sources and collator, you can basically make like a permanent global time source and stick this in it, but it's traditional to put this in like begin step of your game's controller object or something like that. Likewise, you might want to go in the game end event of the same game controller object. Where is it? I suddenly can't find it. Other game end. We can say Steam shutdown. The documentation on the GameMaker Steamworks extension wiki says that you have to call this when the game ends, otherwise Steam won't properly be deinitialized. But I've never actually run into a problem related to like forgetting to do this. That said, I'm going to recommend that you do it anyway, just because maybe there's something that I'm not aware of that can happen if you don't do this. So that is how you're going to update and shut down, deinitialize the Steamworks extension at the appropriate times. By the way, a lot of the Steamworks functions do work with the async Steam event in GameMaker. Not all of them do. You don't necessarily have to use the async Steam event if you just want basic Steamworks functionality, but for a lot of things you do need to use this, and if I want to talk about Steamworks in greater depth in future videos, I might actually have to just bite the bullet and make a video on the async events in GameMaker, because I don't like the async events in GameMaker because they're not user-friendly, and I don't like them. I don't think they're well implemented. But anyway, we won't be going there today. I'm going to get rid of that. Let's see, what else do I want to do? So, if I were to draw a few other values on the screen, let me space these out appropriately. We can do some other fun things. We can say Steam is running on the Steam Deck, and there is a function, Steam utils is Steam running on Steam Deck. That's quite a function name. This function will do exactly what you think it does. It will return a true or false depending on whether or not your game is running on the Steam Deck. This will return false for me because this computer that I'm doing this on is actually not a Steam Deck, funnily enough. But if you were to run your game on a Steam Deck, that would say yes. Hey. We can say Steam. What else do I want to do? How about Steam persona name? And this is going to be Steam get persona name. This is a function which is going to return the name of the Steam account that is currently playing the game. In my case, that will just be Dragonite, because that is the name on my account. Eagled Eye observers may notice that this is a different account than was logged into the Steamworks dashboard on my browser, because I forget if I mentioned this a few minutes ago. You don't have to use your regular everyday Steam account if you want to publish games. You can create like a separate developer account for yourself if you'd like, which theoretically could be a good idea for reasons such as that makes testing easier, but I'm not going to get into that today. Let's see, what else do we have? Steam is... how about Steam overlay is active? And for that we can say Steam get... Or no, it's Steam is overlay. We have Steam is overlay activated and Steam is overlay enabled. Enabled will just return a true or false depending on whether or not the user has the Steam overlay enabled in like their Steam preferences, because you're allowed to turn that off if you don't want that. I'm going to say Steam is overlay activated because this will actually tell you whether or not the Steam overlay is active in the game, which I think is a little bit more of immediate feedback when I'm trying to test stuff. So right now it says nope, we're not running on Steam Deck. My persona name is Dragonite. If I were to control, I keep saying that, if I were to shift tab to bring up the Steam overlay, you can sort of see it's sort of hidden behind the like the darken vignette effect on the overlay, but it does say yes back there. If I shift tab, it'll go back to saying nope. We've also got some printouts in the console down there. That's neat. Speaking of the console, there's a couple of other like messages that appear in the console when you're building your game with the Steamworks extension. And if for whatever reason something doesn't go right, if it's erroring for some reason, it might be worth scrolling up in the console and seeing if anything of relevance appears down there. All right. By the way, if I don't call the Steam update function, and if I do things such as toggle the Steam overlay, the value won't update because Steam isn't being updated. So I can shift tab, and you can see that the text up here isn't changing when I do that. So if you ever have values that like are initialized when your game starts but don't update as your game runs, it's worth checking if you are forgetting to call the Steam update function, or if the Steam update function is forgetting to be run for any reason. Maybe the object that was running it was deleted or something. Let's see. So those are like, this should be enough to like get you used to how it feels to use the Steamworks extension. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. I am going to do just one more thing because I think it's kind of fun, and that is going to be using the Steam get user avatar function. And this will allow you to fetch information, which will allow you to create a sprite from the Steam avatar. To go with this, I'm going to copy and paste some code into here. I'm going to go and create myself a new script, and we can just call this like Steam image create sprite. This is not actually code that I wrote. This is code from the Yo-Yo Games sample Steam project, the sample Steamworks project. In order to correctly obtain avatar information from Steam with the Steamworks extension, you need to go through a few intermediate steps, such as like taking the raw binary image data and then like feeding into a buffer, creating a surface from the buffer, and then turning the surface into a sprite. And while this code here isn't part of the Steamworks extension itself, I'm going to treat it like it is, just because I don't feel like going through all those intermediate steps. Anyway, back to Steam get user avatar. So this function is going to take two arguments. We have the user ID, and you can get the user ID by saying Steam get user ID. No capital there. Steam get user Steam ID. That is a function. You can call that to get the Steam ID of the user who's currently playing the game. And a second argument is going to be Steam user avatar size. And you can pick the size that you want to get the avatar. There's small, there's medium, and there's large. Small is, I want to say 3232, medium is 6464, and large, I forget how big large is. Anyway, we'll go with medium. We can say, I'm going to assign this to a variable. I'm going to call this avatar info equals this. This is not going to be the avatar sprite itself. To do that, you would want to say Steam avatar sprite equals Steam image create sprite. And this function is going to take the avatar info that we got from the previous function. We're going to pass that in. And this is going to give us the Steam avatar sprite. And if I want to, I can go into the draw GUI event. I can say draw, no, not draw text, draw sprite. We can say Steam avatar sprite subimage 0. X can be, let's say, 32. Y can be 96. Right below all the printouts on the screen. This is going to allow us to fetch my Steam avatar. That is something that I have not updated in probably close to 10 years now. That is the Skyrim Dragon Ruined the letter D on some fancy like parchment background. Let me lower that a little. Let's go 108 or so, because that's a little bit close to the letters. If you wanted to get the large size avatar, you could do that. If you wanted to get the small size avatar for like icons on like a leaderboard or something like that, you could do that too. I'm gonna guess that this is 128, 128. I'm sure the sizes are listed in the documentation. I just forgot what they are. Anyway, back on the subject of checking if Steamworks is initialized before you do things. If you are running your game without Steamworks initialized and you try to call Steamworks functions, it won't work very well, particularly in this example, the Steam image create avatar function, because like that function is currently not returning anything. We can't do anything with it. Why don't you like that? Feather's having a weird moment. Anyway, if you're going to do something like this, it would be a good idea to do things such as wrap this in an if Steam initialize check, like this, and this will prevent the game from like crashing when it tries to use Steam avatar data that doesn't exist. If you go into the like the draw event here where I'm drawing stuff, a lot of the getters in the Steam API will just return either like an empty string or a 0 if Steam isn't initialized, which is usually fine enough. But once again, it would be a good idea to wrap the functions like this in a check for Steam initialized, just so that you don't like read back nonsense data or anything like that. In the case of drawing the avatar sprite, drawing a sprite that doesn't exist. For good measure, you can also initialize that to -1 if you're not using Steam. And this will allow the game to proceed as normally, without any issues if Steam isn't initialized. The Steam update and the Steam shutdown functions, you can just leave those alone because those just won't do anything if Steam isn't initialized. But I think that's it. Today we learned how to initialize the Steamworks extension. There are plenty of other things you can do with this, but I think those are all subjects for future videos. Until then, my name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. I will have links to my sample project, the GameMaker Steamworks extension, and the Steamworks dashboard down in the description of the video so that you can find all the things that we discussed in this video. I often like to post videos on the weird stuff you can do in GameMaker, so if you're interested in 3D stuff or weird shader stuff, feel free to subscribe. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute to the channel, links to that can be found in all the usual places. I hope you all found that useful, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Zenjamin, VitroV, Squarecrow, Spy Die Games, Manta Ray, GameMaker, Edward Holt, and DJ Gibbles for supporting these videos. If you want to contribute to the channel, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.